JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, cops outline how they were able to locate missing 9-year-old Felicia. The power of what citizens can achieve when they decide to unite and work as a team was on full display over the weekend, as Jamaicans from all walks of life joined in a desperate search to find 9-year-old girl Felicia Prussia in the parish of St. Thomas. Police report that the child was reportedly abducted from her home by a man on Thursday. She was found a day later in the Arcadia section of the parish following a massive search. Police said they were alerted by residents who reported that they saw a strange man at a shop buying snacks and other items in Arcadia district. We got information about the man, and it was from there we followed a number of leads that led to the discovery of the child, a senior member of the police high command said. Police said when they arrived in the area, the man managed to escape. A search was conducted in the area and the child was found alive. She has since been taken to the hospital for medical examination. Police Commissioner Anthony Anderson, in a press conference shortly after the development, took time out to thank citizens and members of the several organizations that came out and joined in the search.
Well, it's not just the constabulary and partner agencies, but community. I think everybody was inspired to keep up the search on this, and certainly from the constabulary side on the ground we had DSP Thompson here, who was leading the search and actually was part of the group that eventually worked and found her.
Constrictors and giant out there.
Yeah, it's gonna be we had about, I think, 450 or so community members come out from all of the surrounding communities. We also had JCF personnel from St. Thomas K9 unit, persons from Kingston who joined specialized operations. We were bringing over students as well from the college. We also had the JDF on board, helicopter in the space. And people from CPFSA were on the ground, and so it was really a collective effort and got the exact result we wanted from it. So Felicia is alive. She's being seen by medical persons at the moment, and so that's the best of outcomes that we could have hoped for from this activity. It makes it all worthwhile.
Reports are that close to 500 persons participate in the exercise. Police said about 7 p.m. on Thursday, the child was at home playing with her dog when she was reportedly abducted by a male. Police said the abduction was caught on CCTV footage, with the male holding the child in his arm with a knife in his hand. Police said the male, who was released on bail on gun charges, remains at large. And since the development, there has been reports that the suspect was spotted in another section of Arcadia and was approached by residents, but he managed to elude them. Several fined in St. Elizabeth for breaching DRMA. More people in St. Elizabeth have been fined for breaches of the Disaster Risk Management Act. 25 residents were brought before the parish court on Wednesday. The individuals were arrested during the period from late July to mid-September. The offences include breaching the curfew and staging entertainment events without permits, for which persons were fined from $8,000 to $70,000. For the sale of alcoholic beverages without spirit license and operating businesses beyond closing hours, individuals were fined a maximum of $10,000. Broderick Smith, acting senior judge for St. Elizabeth, said a message must be sent to partygoers and promoters that if they are brought before the court, they must be prepared to pay for their actions. Last week, Chief Parish Judge Chester Crooks said parish court judges are concerned about the nonchalant attitude of some Jamaicans toward COVID-19 protocols and have been attempting to shame them into compliance with the fines. Cop charged with armed robbery 8 years ago freed. A member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, who was charged 8 years ago with armed robbery, was freed on Friday in the Trelawney Parish Court. Constable Michael Campbell was acquitted of robbery, housebreaking, larceny, and assault occasioning bodily harm after his attorney, Oswest Sina Smith, challenged evidence presented by the prosecution. Prosecutors reported that in October 2013, the policeman and other armed individuals went to the home of the complainant in Bounty Hall, Trelawney, and attempted to abduct him. The man, who escaped, later reported that Constable Campbell and the other men stole cash and appliances from his house. At the trial, the policeman's attorney challenged the identification evidence, placing him at the scene, as well as the testimony of the main witness. The judge agreed and ordered that the policeman be released. Cops target dog paws successors. Head of the St. Andrews Central Police Division, Senior Superintendent Marlon Nesbeth, said that the police are monitoring 2 individuals who have been rumored as being next in line to take over the reins from reputed gangster Christopher Dogpaw Linton. Linton was cut down by the police on Monday in an alleged gunfight in Elliston Flats, St. Andrew. Nesbeth said the police had dialogue with Linton following his release from prison 6 months ago, and he assured them that his efforts would have a positive influence in his community. "We didn't see that any at all. He just continued along his criminal path and driving fear into people," he said, adding that Linton was ruthless and that his operations were expanding rapidly beyond the division. Anybody who was anti-Christopher Linton would be targets of his, and some of them met their demise by him from what we know. Nesbeth also believes that it won't be long before another criminal pops up on the police's radar. For a little while we might see them a little bit in the shell, but after a while they'll continue to want to exert themselves. For some of them it is lucrative. For some, the power base is important for them to even manage and be in their own space, because there'll be conflicts. So you have to project yourself as this bigger and badder type of man, he said. Nesbeth also called for members of the society to stop glorifying criminals. "People find it very attractive, even the young ladies it seems. We're just on the wrong path of appropriately influencing our youth, and that is why these types of dons have such a wide followership. To include the young males who would want to do their bidding, we need to make it less attractive," he said. Meanwhile, the senior crime fighter said that the police will be looking to further dismantle the criminal empire built by Linton, who he said had stocked up on weapons, following his release from prison in April, following his successful appeal against shooting charges. "We want to see how best we can contain some of those spaces and see how best we can recover some of those weapons and try to put away some of the other fellows we know are integrally involved. We have the names, we know who they are, and we have the police around them," said Nesbeth. PM defends employers' right to vaccination policies. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hinted at support for businesses mandating COVID-19 vaccine for staff, declaring that companies have a right to protect their interest. In fact, Holness, who was speaking during a COVID-19 vaccination tour in Richmond, St. Mary on Friday, said he has not seen anything in legislation which suggests that the move is illegal, though research is still taking place. Last weekend, Labour Minister Carl Samuda said that there was no provision in law allowing for companies to force their employees to take COVID-19 vaccinations. A number of private sector businesses have, in recent weeks, implemented mandatory vaccination policies, requesting that employees present proof of vaccination or proof of negative COVID-19 test weekly at workers' expense, setting off a public firestorm with those against the jab at the forefront. Only last week, the National Commercial Bank became the latest private sector group to implement a vaccination policy, triggering the launch of the All or Welcome campaign spearheaded by Jamaicans against the jab. While no one has come forward as head of the movement, there is promise of a bloodless revolution in opposition. The movement has called for a boycott of businesses that have mandated the vaccine. "I think employees and employers have the right to sit with each other and negotiate. That's the first strategy. But I think employers also have the right to protect their businesses and their investments," said Holness. The PM said that it is these businesses and investments that create employment and income. Approximately 12.6% of the population has been vaccinated. Now we have seen companies move ahead with vaccine mandates. We have seen nothing in the law to prevent them from doing that. But I'm not the legal expert, and we are getting an opinion on that, he said. At the same time, Holness encouraged employers to go through a thorough process of engaging employees before mandating the vaccine, noting that he has seen companies achieve 1% vaccination rates without a mandate. He said that for some businesses, however, it is evident that the risk for an outbreak are significant, and therefore, measures must be put in place to incentivize and urge workers. The PM noted that globally, countries have offered incentives for persons to take the vaccine while transferring costs to those opposed to it. So if you're not vaccinated, then shows that you're not infected, and then the cost of proof is transferred to you by virtue of the exercise of your choice of not taking the vaccine. I think that it is quite legitimate to protect the public good of the economy and returning our society to normality, he said. Holness said that his administration is moving deliberately and cautiously, as the possibility exists for litigation among those keen on testing the boundaries of the Constitution. He said the government is expecting legal challenges in the months ahead and is preparing itself. So we have to make sure we order our steps and that they are correct. I think the great disaster would be for there to be a negative ruling against the government in this pandemic. So the government has to be very careful to ensure that it is in keeping with what is understood to be the boundaries of the Constitution, he said. 31 COVID fatalities, 264 new virus cases. 31 Jamaicans on Friday became the latest COVID-19 fatalities, pushing the island's virus death toll to 2,103. The latest victims are a 27-year-old male, a 59-year-old female, a 65-year-old female, a 68-year-old female from Hanover, a 64-year-old female from Trelawney, a 76-year-old female, a 48-year-old female, an 83-year-old female, a 51-year-old female, a 41-year-old female from St. James, an 83-year-old male from St. Anne, a 65-year-old male from St. James, a 71-year-old female from Hanover, an 80-year-old male from St. James, a 49-year-old male from Trelawney, a 45-year-old male from St. Anne, a 31-year-old female from St. James, a 74-year-old female from Trelawney, a 42-year-old female from Hanover, an 82-year-old female from Hanover, and a 61-year-old female from Hanover, a 76-year-old female from St. Elizabeth, a 62-year-old female from St. Anne, a 66-year-old female from St. James, a 78-year-old female from Hanover, an 88-year-old female from Kingston and St. Andrew, an 89-year-old female from Kingston and St. Andrew, an 81-year-old female from Manchester, a 75-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew, and an 80-year-old female from Manchester. The deaths occurred between August 11 and October 14, 2021. 5 of the deaths were previously reported under investigation. 2 more deaths were reported as coincidental on Friday. 4 others were reported under investigation. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness said the island recorded 246 new cases of the virus, pushing the total number of confirmed cases on the island since the outbreak to 87,232. The new cases comprise 157 females and 89 males with ages ranging from 13 days to 89 years. The ministry said 71 of the new cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 53 in St. Catherine, 27 in St. Elizabeth, 24 in Manchester, 23 in Clarendon, 12 in St. James, 11 in St. Thomas, 9 in St. Anne, 7 in Portland, 4 in Trelawney, 3 in Hanover, 1 in St. Mary and 1 in St. Anne. The ministry further reported 182 new recoveries, which pushed the total recoveries to 55,264. There are 29,267 active cases on the island. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.